today is Wednesday, the 13th of April, which means the latest episode of Moon Knight dropped, so let's talk about it. This is the third episode of Moon Knight, which means we're now halfway through the show, so I'm going to tell you about my thoughts so far on the TV show. So just a bit of background information, I'm not the biggest Moon Knight fan. I've read a bit of the 2006 run of Moon Knight, and I also got this comic, and I got these shortly before the TV show came out, just to, get a feel for the character. So yeah. By the way, this is a really good comic, I really recommend it. So, leading on from talk about the comics, first thing I can say, this TV show is nothing like the comics, but that's a good thing. I mean, personally, I don't mind it when they change the comics for films. Like, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, that's one of the most popular Marvel films and everybody likes it. But it's nothing like the comics. So, especially the original version of them had none of those in it. They were added in later. So changing comics isn't a bad thing. Some differences are we haven't seen this guy yet. He was Jake Lockley, and he is the third personality or alter for Moon Knight, and they might be hinted at if in the latest episodes. This is all gonna have spoilers. When we saw that there's another character that seems to be more violent than both Marc Spector and Stephen Grant. However, in the comics, he is a violent character. He is the taxi driver, although in there he is being accused for murder, so, But anyway, so he's a taxi driver and he's just gets some of the information for them. But they might change him in the show, like how Stephen Grant, once again, in the comics, he's the one with all the money, and he's nothing like his TV show counterpart. Speaking of Stephen Grant, yeah, that English accent, it ain't good, but as many theorise, it may be on purpose, and just to show that he isn't really English and he's just an alter to Marc Spector. So yeah, something like that. Some other changes are we don't have this character right here, who is Marlene, but she appears to be replaced by Layla, so they look like an interesting character, so I'm excited to see what they do with that. So, those are all the changes that at least I can think of. If you can think of any others, put it down there. I'd love to know. So, now let's talk about the actual TV show, which has just been fantastic so far. I mean, the first episode had a chase scene to Wake Me Up Before You Go in, was it a muffin truck thing? Where there was really violent scenes, but then we didn't see them since it's weren't very dissociated. That, phenomenal. That just makes that whole episode perfect, just for that one scene. Also, the Moon Knight costume reveal was so good. I wish I didn't include that bit in the trailers, but what can you do? It was just so cool to see, and especially since I was a bit longer. And yeah, just good stuff. And then in episode 2, we just got a bit more, just continuing. And in fact, anything too major happened. We got to see Mr. Knight, and well, got introduced to Layla. So actually, it might have been quite a big episode. But yeah, I personally preferred episode 1, but episode 2 is still a really good episode. Then we've got episode 3, which is the one that we got today. And this was a really good episode. Just all they did, and having the how Marc Spector and Stephen Grant interacted, that was very interesting. And then the fight scene in it with Moon Knight was really good. Loved how when he was dropping down, his cape became a moon, like a crescent shape. That was very cool. And yeah, just another really good episode. It's just been really strong so far, is all I can really say. So yeah, so if it keeps at the pace that it's at now, it'll be really good. The only problem is, if you ask me, these Marvel shows, they're not always able to continue with how good they are at the start. Especially with WandaVision, which was really good, but then that final episode was a bit iffy. So if it can keep up like this, that'd be really good. Yeah. Also, the villain I really like. He isn't a comic book villain, I don't believe. He's a completely new one. But like having this weird cult is really interesting, since I can't think of anything that we've had like that in the MCU before. Like, I suppose kind of in Falcon and Winter Soldier. But yeah, this fully went for the cult aspect. Which is really interesting, especially with this being a bit of a darker show with like more violence and swearing, because we're edgy. So yeah, that just really works. And also, we've seen that with Marc Spector, he's really strong, and he can take on pretty much anyone. So having it as more of a mental villain who, instead of just having really strong and physical, is a really interesting way to do it, if you ask me. And finally, another thing that I really like about this show is that it's something new and different, like with all of Phase 4 pretty much. Maybe not Black Widow, but pretty much everything else has just been new and different, which I really like to see, because although they've pretty much perfected the superhero formula from Phase 1 to Phase 3, it's nice just to have some new stuff, especially since I've just had the big Infinity Saga, and just that the creators do what they want to do is really good, if you ask me. So yeah, that will bring my ramblings to an end, so thank you for watching, and goodbye.